to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
Oh, boy. I'm exhausted. Are you exhausted?
I am. I'm quite exhausted. I don't know. You know what it is? I think it is, as I woke up this morning, I don't know if this happened to you where you're at, but
Yeah.
I woke up and it was just snowing to all hell.
It wasn't snowing, but it was freezing all ugh.
It was freezing here. There's snow everywhere. So my drive to work usually takes anywhere from 15 to 17 minutes.
Yeah.
It took me 45 minutes today.
Oh, buddy.
With how bad all the roads were.
Yeah, I didn't leave the apartment today because I was just like chores and stuff, and it's cold, and there's no way I'm leaving anyway.
I tweeted this earlier, and I stand by it 100%. People who genuinely like winter,
Yeah.
genuinely like the cold weather, the snow, I kind of want to punch them.
Here's the thing with me, right? So I went to school where I went to school. I went to school, Bowling Green.
The thing about where I went to school.
I was going to say same area, right? In Buffalo, New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say in high school you had it bad enough, but
Yeah, no, I was like, man, I hate the snow. Let me go to where it's worse.
Let me go to where it's even worse. I know we both got lake effect things, and it was just it was brutal.
Oh God.
So just a clear, cloudy-ish day yesterday that was cold, I was like, okay, this is fine.
No, if it dips below 50, I'm mad.
I don't know. I can handle 40 just fine.
It's I can handle cold.
Yeah.
It doesn't typically bother me. It's every time it's cold, it's dreary out here.
Yeah, and it just
sucks the life out of me.
It's just gray and gross. And
and I'm just like, God, this sucks,
Right.
Some sun in my life.
Yeah. I totally get it. But hey, we're actually, our boys on the ice are on a roll. It's about damn time, right?
A little bit, yeah. 3 or 4 is pretty good. You could make an argument that they could have gotten all 4.
Could have.
Yeah. And we'll get into that one specifically, but I'd like to focus on some positives here.
I think we got
a couple episodes we've had.
Yeah, and I think we got a lot of positives we can talk about with our Kepi Keeper by DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings, and here we go. Looking at the odds for what we've got going on. We play the Canadians coming up. We're favored again.
Yeah.
Money line's a minus 135 for Columbus against Montreal. We got a fun original 6 matchup between 2 really hot teams too. Mm-hmm. With the Rangers and the Red Wings. The Rangers, they've been so hot. Yeah, the Patty Kane Bowl. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that later.
Imagine saying that to someone 3 years ago. Oh, Rangers Red Wings, the Patrick Kane Bowl.
Rangers have the money line on that at a minus 205 to Detroit's plus 170.
Mm-hmm.
And then the old as dirt Capitals and the LA Kings, which the Kings
are unbelievable.
Kings, are they on the road? Because they're undefeated.
Kings are at home.
Kings are at home. Okay, so that's less favorable, but with the way Washington's power play has been, I think they'll be fine.
It's unbelievable with how old they are, how they've played this season. 10-6-2 is impressive.
The Kings money line is a minus 218 to a plus 180 for Washington. That should tell you everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
And those are your 3 games that they have scheduled tomorrow.
Yes, and we've talked about how ugly the schedule makers, we just can't stand that, right?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games tonight.
Hey,
10 games tonight.
and get in on it
Come
while
on.
the games are going on. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can bet $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights reserved.
Good job.
Thank you. I think what's nice is obviously you guys can see me kind of reading it. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't, even for a guy that took public speaking classes, doing the rehearsals for even a simple ad read like this is just ugh.
It's a lot of words.
It's very, very
I don't
wordy.
think too many people are gonna blame you. You're not rehearsing a script for an acting job. So
Exactly. It's not yeah.
alrighty. Who went first last time? Was it you?
I want to say it was me, but here's what I want to do, right?
Mhm. Do we want to give the Kepi to a country?
I think we should give it to a collective.
So that was NHL history, correct?
That was NHL history.
4
Yes.
different Russians scoring in the same game.
For the same
we'll get
team.
into some of this in a little bit. Dima, Provorov, Chinikov, Marchenko, and then Justin Danforth, who played in the KHL.
Yeah, I know. Honorary Russian, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I think both of us really just need to give kudos to all 4 of the big guys.
I'm not gonna. We'll do that, but that's not gonna be my Kepi.
No? Okay. All right, go for it.
Elvis.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about Elvis too.
I don't think I need to. Elvis.
No.
This is, and I texted you about this the other day. And even though they lost that game, I didn't walk away thinking, "Oh man, it collapsed on him." But the last 2 games, even with the loss to Carolina, it almost felt cathartic to watch him stand in there, making save after save after save after save.
Locked in.
It is the best he's looked in a while. And you have to wonder in the back of your mind, and you don't want to jinx it, but you have to wonder in the back of your mind as the season progresses, as he gets more acclimated with Nicholas Backstrom, his game has continued to take those steps back.
Yes.
And God, that's good to see, isn't it?
It's very good to see. He has a 913 through the month of November thus far.
Yeah. And you know what? Like we said, this isn't a playoff team. We didn't expect it to be this season. So you want to see different things happen through the course of a season that are positives. And Elvis regaining form would have been at the top of the list heading into this season for things you would have loved to have seen from this team. Things that could make this season not a lost season. And I think the stretch we had in a lot of people's minds almost made it a lost season. But have the ability, because you're not a playoff team, to recover at least some elements to make this a positive. That's one of them. And if he can continue that, God, is that ever big for this team?
Yeah, especially for him who over the last couple of years has dealt with so many demons on and off.
You put it into context. He comes over to the NHL in 18-19. He's not the number one starter because they gave it to Corpy out of camp.
Hmm.
He starts off as a backup, and boy was he awful.
Yeah.
He was awful. And then he has to be the number one starter because Corpy goes down, and he was unbelievable. He
And he
was
just
unbelievable.
wipes the floor.
Stole the
Yeah.
job. Then we come back the next season. Both those guys get extensions. He's really good in the shortened season. I think he had a 916. So they gave him the long-term extension because he was
Hmm.
their guy moving forward. And the next season, obviously, what happens. They head into the season. All things considered, behind one of the worst defenses in the league and a team that was really playing up ice. And I know seven's not bad.
You
It's
also
not.
need to remember how much of a mental game goaltending is.
Yep. And then last season was what last season was. It was
Last
awful.
season was what last season was. Plus,
Terrible.
he had a stretch of injury. Plus, he was still, for whatever godforsaken reason, because fans are just like this. Some pockets of fans are just rude as all hell. Still chirping him for the incident, for the
Yeah.
Matisse tragedy.
Yeah, some people are just
Like, I don't.
they cross lines. I think that a lot of times when that stuff happens, we tend to blame fan bases because we don't like a team. You know what I mean?
Right, but
In
no, you
reality,
could get.
every fan base has those fans because there are some people in life who just don't understand boundaries.
That's just
And
bad
so,
apples, and
yeah,
everybody has that.
like it sucks, but that's a reality. Uh, Tragedy happens. You'll get chirped about it by some people.
Yeah.
Um, it's fucked up, but what are you gonna do? People are just like that. So he's dealt with a lot.
He came into this season very much ready to, reset himself.
He came into the season angry.
Yeah, he did.
He did, and I think he's had moments early, some really good moments, some really bad moments, but these last two games were so huge, and he just needed a little bit of fucking
We're,
help.
we're always our hardest critic, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we're critics because we want the best.
We want the best out of ourselves and we want the best out of each other.
Yeah.
And so Elvis really took that look in the mirror and, he's gone full steam ahead. And if he just got a little bit of help from the defense, we probably would have gotten 4 out of the last 4.
Yeah. They'd have 4-game win streak. And this is the other thing I'll say is I want to give some credit to Paz. Would have been very easy for them in the midst of a back-to-back to lose to a really good Boston team after blowing that Carolina game. Think about it. Not only did you blow that game the way you did, you have to travel from Carolina back home.
Yeah, so second half of a back-to-back with travel, and it's
one of the best teams in the NHL. And they shelled them.
Yeah.
Absolutely shelled them. That might have been the best game of the season.
I did like Corrali getting the mic.
Yeah.
Play against his forward team. That was cool. So yeah, Elvis is getting yours. Way deservedly so.
Yep.
I'm trying to think.
You have a lot of options.
I do have a lot of options. And
I think I can help you with one if you'd like. My first ever assist, my alley-oop to you. Would you like it?
Hey, as long as it's cross crease pass, let's do this.
Cross crease pass. Well, they say there's no place like home, but I think Columbus is a great place to make your home. And it's really, really good news to hear that this guy has had a change of heart and he will be staying with us.
Yes. Going back to the Russian 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to go to Vrani. It's got to go to Dima.
Yeah. He's been so
He's
That
been
was like the
electric.
most disappointing thing I've ever read. Like before, like we found out today that like he's gonna stay. Like when I saw that, I couldn't even laugh at the irony or anything like that because I was like, shit, like this guy's playing so well. This sucks.
And I mean, I got the argument
Mm-hmm. Of
because the homesickness happens,
course,
especially for a Russian player.
it's his first
Like,
year in the league too.
yeah, so I totally understood where he was coming from.
Mm-hmm. It's a big change, and the one thing that I saw was that he's been living in a hotel.
Yeah, he's not even staying
Shit,
with
no
any
shit, he's
teammates.
homesick.
Like, that's
He's not living in a home. So apparently they're trying to help him get a home. And guess what? That's not going to be an issue because he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere for a while. That's how well he's played.
And we have, for like, yes. So mine's going to Dmitry Voronkov, not just for the goal, but like just for how well he's played over the
Even
course of the
if you
year.
don't see him come up on the stat sheet, he just pops, doesn't he?
You can always tell he's there. And that's
Mhm.
not just because he's 6'5" and 240 pounds.
It helps. It helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's making your presence known because we've seen some big players who you might not even notice. We've seen the likes of Pierre Engvall, who
Seen the likes of Eric Branson, who
yeah. Well, actually, I disagree. I think when Eric Branson's up.
yeah, you're right. It's funny because like we know Patty's a good example of that because you don't think of him as 6'5".
He doesn't play like he's.
He doesn't play that kind of game.
Sometimes I'd like to notice him a little bit more. In that
Yeah.
sense, I'm not saying he needs to step up and hit, but maybe more so just using his body in creative ways to perhaps shield the puck,
Make space.
create some offense that way. Yeah, create space. I know that's not really his game, but maybe occasionally it'd be nice.
Is that more of a critique on Patty? Like, I don't know.
It's not so much a critique on Patty as much as it's just something I'd like to see him do, but I'm not killing him for it. I'm just
at least we know Dima does it. So
he does it. He creates space in so many different ways, and I really love this player.
Elvis Merzlikins, Dmitry Voronkov, very well deserved for both of these guys.
So what was the last game that we talked about?
The last one that we actually talked about in terms of just like recapping a game.
I don't think we talked about any of these games. Did we talk about the Chicago game?
I don't think so. And I mean, we'll get to that eventually.
No, because we didn't do a show on Saturday, so we wouldn't have. Yeah.
No, because we recorded that day, but
yeah,
it was well before the game went on.
Yep.
That was the one that finally got us off the schneid, and hey.
That screamed a team so angry about their 9-game losing streak that they just took all their frustrations out on one team and just beat the hell out of them. And they let up in the third period. They were up 7-1 after 2 periods.
Yeah. I thought it was great, just the overall vibes of it. Plus, it's very fitting considering it's rivalry weekend and the final score was a football score.
Yeah, game winner of that match went to Cole Sillinger. It was his first goal of the season. He's been noticeable these last 3 to 5 games, I'd say.
It's starting good to see from him now.
Gain a little bit more confidence back in him. I feel like he's kind of starting to find it a little bit because again, it's not just about putting points up. Obviously, we want to see that, but it's just about being noticeable. He's been more noticeable lately.
It's a point to say whenever you're watching, whether you're watching on TV or you're watching the game live, you don't want to just see the color of the jersey. You want to be able to notice like this player is doing well.
Yes. Boy, this number sure is on my screen a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you don't want to be the guy that
now there is, yeah.
You
it
don't
is
want to be
possible
like,
your name is on the screen a lot for bad reasons, but
yeah, you don't want to be the camera guy after they call a penalty or something like that.
yeah, yeah. So not
Um,
a ton to talk about that game. They killed him. Wierenski
I
had four
thought
assists. So Jenner, Goodbranson, Jenner
that's a
again.
team record for Z, isn't it?
Yep. And then Bedard scores his 10th. Then we go to Cole Sillinger, Dmitry Voronkov, Kirill Marchenko, Patrick Laine, 7-1 after 2 periods. Then they kind of let
Patty
the
really showed that scratch really did, like, you know.
He's better in that game, yeah. Him and Fantilli, their relationship and chemistry really showed in that game, and they played well. And you look at a score,
Dude, the spin.
yeah, the
Oh,
spin
the
was.
spin.
But real quick, you look and you see like the final score, and you say 7-3. Man, offensive display. You don't really think about the goaltending aspect of it.
Right.
Elvis stopped 33 of 36 in that game. It's a good game.
Yeah, it was a great game from
It's a
him,
quality start.
and the same can be said for, like, Spencer Martin has not played awful.
No, he's exceeded expectations, and again, I feel like you have almost like a time limit on that. You know what I mean? But the
Yeah.
way that Elvis has played, I don't think you're going to have to rely on Martin as much. I think you're going to be able to start to see more consistent Elvis starts, and his confidence, I think, is slowly growing back, which leads us to the New Jersey game.
That one was way more impressive to me.
So, Jenner opens the scoring. Really, really nice play by Johnny Gaudreau to retrieve the puck, and then he's kind of skating towards the corner, just a little slick pass in front, and it's just such a layup. Like I didn't even realize it went in. I kind of just figured like he just kind of jammed a shot against the. I think it was Kier Schneid started that game. I thought it just went off his. No, it was just in and out of the net that fast.
How nice is it to see Johnny playing well again?
He's looked good. It's big. They need to get going, and that you've won 3 of your last 4. I would say getting Johnny Gaudreau start, going has been a factor in that, right?
Yeah, because I remember back when we talked about me going to the Pittsburgh game, he had good looks.
That's the thing. Even when he wasn't playing well, it's not like he just wasn't generating anything.
It's not like he wasn't doing anything. Like,
yeah, things just weren't going for him. They're starting to bounce his way a little bit now, which is really good to see. And then the call up. I defended this call up, didn't I? I said I like Kent Johnson a lot. I love his game, but I think he needs to cook in the minors for a little bit. I'm perfectly fine with Eric Robinson coming up, gets on a breakaway, scores.
And that was assisted by Justin Danforth, the honorary Russian, and Goody of all guys.
Dude, Danforth's been money this season.
Oh yeah, he has. The New Jersey goal.
So glad that he is healthy.
The Jersey goal that originally tied things, going to Alexander Holtz, who I think is finally starting to make a little bit of a mark.
He's making a little bit of a mark. He's looked good for the Devils so far. He's been one of the few bright spots on their team this season. They haven't gotten off to the start they wanted. They're 9-1 right now. I know they've had some injuries, but if he can keep up what he's doing and you get Jack Hughes back and Nico Hischier starts to feel a little bit more healthy, they should be fine. But this was a quality win on the road. Elvis Merzlikins, 37 saves on 38 shots, including 20 in the third period, I think.
Just an onslaught, and he slams the door.
Yeah. Because it's an interesting game. You see 37 and you're like, oh man, like he must have been peppered all game. It wasn't that way. The Blue Jackets kind of really hemmed the Devils in and really tilted the ice the first 2 periods of the game. Vast majority of that action, as we said, happened in the third period.
Well, we know that that's like a score effects thing, right?
Yeah.
At least, like, we should definitely. Here's my plan for our next show. Because we've been doing this for 3 years, right?
Sure.
This is our 3rd year doing this.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of fans that watch us that are more hardcore fans, but the majority of people that watch us are way more casual fans. So what I think we should do is do a little Hockey 101 episode.
Sure.
Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do.
Be fun.
I could be swayed. We'll get into sway later.
Yes, we will. So Carolina. Oh, we had him, but we didn't have him.
Yeah, we didn't have him. I said it on the day, like the day of the game, like it was not a game that they deserved to win, anyways.
No.
I felt bad for Elvis. He wasn't even one of the stars of the game, which is so unfortunate because if they had
43 shots.
overtime, even if they lose in overtime, if they had just gotten a point out of it, he probably would have gotten one of the stars. So, very early. So after 2 periods of play,
all the scoring was the third period.
Yeah. So Kirill Marchenko, 13 seconds into the period from Johnny Gaudreau. Johnny Gaudreau scores his 3rd goal of the season about 6 minutes later. A very strange goal. Took a weird deflection and kind of just fluttered into the net. It was kind of, it almost looked like a change up, you know? And so very strange goal. And the Blue Jackets for the last 10 minutes of the game, literally last 10 minutes of the game, because Kotkaniemi scored at the 10:01 mark of third period.
Wow. Yeah.
Just went into total. I don't know if I want to say cruise control. They played on their toes. You know, they weren't on their heels. They're on their toes a little bit. They were, flat-footed for most of it.
They didn't really try to park the bus or anything. It was weird.
I thought, no, I disagree. I felt like they tried to park the bus. They didn't do any pushing. There was no counterattack. There was no threat of them taking the puck away from you and doing something with it at the other end of the ice. Like, it was just Carolina came, they surged, and they were denied. Pucks out of the zone, they come right back. It was just all. It was the whole. We talk about tilting the ice. The first 10 minutes of that third period, it felt like it was really in favor of the Blue Jackets.
And then it just went
10 minutes. It was completely in the favor of the Hurricanes.
Yeah,
and they did not do anything to help Elvis at all. 40 saves on 43 shots. Unfortunately, as I said, Kotkaniemi scores.
Brady Shea, who's been their best defenseman. Oh my God, Brady Shea.
Really, really good. He's been really good ever since he went to Carolina.
Yeah, he has. I liked him in New York too, though. Like,
he was a more flawed player in New York. He had a lot more holes to his game. I think Carolina's done a really good job refining him.
Yeah,
but it's not like he was bad in New York. He there were just holes.
He's played well with Brett Pesce and
unbelievable. How many games does Andrei Svechnikov play this season?
Not many.
12.
Not 12.
12 games he's played this season. He only has the 1 goal, and it was the winner.
And we're at the quarter mark, right? So, like, most teams have played around 16 to 20.
Yeah, so he's missed a few games here or there, but still very surprising that the goal that Svechnikov scored to essentially win the game for Carolina with 2 minutes left.
And Seth Jarvis is coming into his own too. Like,
Seth Jarvis is unbelievable too. He's a really good player. It's a really, really, really good hockey team that they've got down in Carolina, and I'm telling you, that's a team that there's a lot of pressure this year.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. The biggest thing
be competing for a cup.
The biggest thing is penalties,
and
the penalty kill's been fine. Power play is finally kind of starting to figure it out a little bit after going 0 for 22 since my birthday up until they finally got one against Chicago.
Yeah. The way I look at the power play is every once in a while the blind squirrel will find a nut.
Yeah. And I mean, that is Mark Recchi for you. We talked about Mark Recchi last show.
It's amazing that someone who had such an unbelievable career could be,
as a player, can be such a weird coach.
I love your use of the word weird there. You're like, I don't want to say bad, so I'm just going to say weird.
No, because bad is saved for coaches like John Hynes.
We'll get into that, but I would put them in the same boat. Definitely.
Yeah, you think so?
Absolutely, yeah. I think Devils fans would too. I think Devils fans would largely agree with me on that.
Oh yeah, that ship is sinking.
Okay.
But yeah, let's get to the fun. Let's get to the fun time at home. From Russia with love.
Yeah, and this is the one we want to talk about most because I think this is their best game of the season.
It's
Because
still
you think
so
about,
crazy because not even Detroit in the '90s with their 5 guys did this.
you look at, as I said, middle of a back-to-back,
Mm-hmm.
coming home from Carolina off of an emotionally frustrating loss.
Where you completely just blew it.
And you have your backup goaltender in Spencer Martin. He's not even really your backup, to be honest with you.
He's like a 1B.
He's your third guy. I mean,
Yeah,
more
I mean,
in the sense of organizational favor. Like he's
yes,
the backup
especially
right
with
now.
Terry
Like,
finally making
when
progress to come
Tarasov
back.
comes back, he's going to be ahead of this guy. So this is a guy who's either a backup or a third goalie in most cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have that guy in net, and you got one of the best teams in the league in Boston in town.
The first 15 minutes of the game was very much. We always have these games where you're taking a lot of time to feel the other team out and try to like read the pace of a game. Right?
Yes, and interesting. I'm seeing some things here that intrigue me a little bit. So yeah, they get off to a 1-0 lead at the 15:52 mark. So first 15 minutes are kind of a feel it out process. They score first. Voronkov again
From Chinikov.
from Chinikov. And then in the second period,
That's 4 goals for Voronkov already this year.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because isn't he like one of 2 guys in Columbus history to have 10 points in their first like however many games?
Yeah. It was somewhere. I'd have to look it up because I don't have it on me. But yeah, he's been setting some records. He's I want to say he's like second or third in rookie scoring in the month of November. Yeah.
Connor Bedard, eat your heart out.
Calder favorite? No.
That.
So Ivan Provorov makes it 2-0 with his second goal. He's been coming. He's been looking a lot better, especially on the offensive side of the puck.
Yep, and that was from noted Alan Walsh client David Yurichek, who we're actually recording this. We're recording this on his birthday.
Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday, David. 20.
Jesus Christ.
He's only 20 now.
Good Lord. And this is what I was looking at. Cole Sillinger's got 8 assists on the season.
Yeah. Kids figured out his way to dish.
Telling you, man.
We get a solo Jaeger bomb. To follow that up like 10 minutes later.
Yep. On a breakaway. Beautiful finish. Great job to
we don't talk about how much this kid has a shot.
I think we do.
I think
we do.
I feel like we still like we do, but like we don't talk about it enough, even still. You know what I mean?
Don't talk enough about he's very good at like he's not like the most stout player defensively, but he's very effective in the counterattack.
Yeah,
pushing back offensively after you force a turnover or when you stop a cycle. Really good in that aspect. I like his game in that regard.
And then I loved because our text exchange was probably my favorite part of this because it was like, so we got Dima and then we got Yegor. So we're like, okay, 2 out of 3 of the kids isn't bad. Right. And then the third period starts and boom, 5 minutes in, Marchenko gets in on it. And you were like, when are we going to see this? And then you called it. And
yeah.
So that's 4 for 4 on the Russians on the team.
Yep.
That was like, I don't know, that was just really fun, right? Because like I said, not even the Detroit Red Wings in the 90s did that, and they had the Russian 5. They had 5 guys.
Oh, big fan of their burgers and fries.
Yeah.
It's a big win. So you look at some of the stats from the game. Even on faceoffs, They
Yeah.
outshot them 40-33.
40-33 is still just like, even then, that's a huge
Power
wow.
plays, they're 1 for 5. But you know what? The fact that they had 5 power plays, they're drawing penalties.
They were drawing penalties
Only
and
took 2 penalties.
yes,
And they were 2 for 2 on the penalty
they
kill.
out hit the Bruins.
Out hit the Bruins.
You
And,
don't see-
the Bruins had more block shots, but I think that actually is an example of how the Blue Jackets controlled the game because they had 40 shots on goal, and that's with the Bruins blocking 20.
Yeah,
That just shows how much they were really possessing the puck and taking it to the Bruins.
they outshot them 19-9 in the second.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was only like there was the 2 goals to show for it, but even then, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they scored 2 in the third as well. That was Marshy for the 4-0 goal. Matt Patra getting the Bruins on the board, which how fun is this kid?
Isn't it funny? Like, what is it when one Phoenix dies, another one rises.
Another one rises, yeah.
So as Bergeron retires, and then out from the ashes comes
Saint
this kid.
Patra.
Yeah.
I do love this kid. Like,
who do you think led the Blue Jackets in expected goals this game?
in expected goals. God, that's hard to think of with all 4 of the Russians.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, like because all 4 of them had such a good game.
I'll give you the top 3 because surprisingly, none of them are the Russians.
Really?
Yeah. Do you want to guess or
just give it? Just read it.
So third,
Mhm.
Patrick Laine.
Really? That's weird because they kind of, from what I was reading from others on Twitter, like him, Tex, Fantilli, they didn't have the best game.
They didn't have the best game, but I think they had at least a couple of looks that were at least high danger enough to get the number up.
Mm-hmm.
Second was Eric Robinson.
Robbie, ever since he got called back up, he's been showing like, yeah.
Isn't it interesting that they've won 3 of their last 4 since they called him up?
I think
He's saying he's the glue.
It's nice because we know what Eric brings.
And I said it at the time. I didn't understand why he was the one who went down. I don't understand why he was the one who went down.
Yeah, that was such a shock when that actually happened.
And then number 1 is our franchise guy, Justin Danforth.
The honorary Russian.
Dude, he's been just found money.
Danny has 6 goals already this year.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's like just legitimately good.
Yeah, and that's fun. So I'm looking at it right now. Well then. So he's not even cracked 100 NHL games.
Yeah.
He's got 74 games played, 18 goals, 9 assists for 27 points, and is a career +1.
Mm-hmm.
Here's his season to date: 23 games, 6 goals, 4 assists for 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's him and Demo, right? Leading the charge with that. He's a +9, Jay.
Yeah.
That's a huge,
we've talked about how plus minus is kind of one of those weird stats. I've always said plus minus only holds weight when you have an outlier on a team, either positive or negative. Like if there's a bad team, you'll see a lot of players in the negatives, but the only thing that matters to me is if there's an outlier. So when the Sabres were really bad, like under Ralph Kruger, they were like just about every player was in the minus. But then you'd look at Rasmus Ristolainen. If he was, there was a gap between him and second last. That's when you're okay, this player's just bad.
Like,
this is
what's going on. This is very out of the ordinary.
Whereas with Danforth, who's second on the team right now in plus minus? Is it still Severson?
I don't know.
Someone overtaken him since he's been out.
I don't know. I I can't
I
look
can
at it
access
off.
that real quick.
Yeah, if you want to try to find it, because I can't see it looking just at the roster.
So he's been overtaken.
Okay.
Uh, so we've got several guys now. So, uh, Kirill Marchenko is second at +4. Dima,
Okay.
Borensky, and surprisingly Adam Bokvist are tied at third at +2.
Okay.
So you think about that, like third place is a three-way tie at +2.
Right.
Second is +4. And then Justin Danforth is a +9.
9.
That's a significant gap. That's a player who is constantly making your team better when he's on the ice.
That whole fourth line has done wonders.
It has, yeah.
Like, we know that Justin and Corrali have gelled, because they gelled a lot last year, even when things were really bad.
They gelled before Danforth got hurt, and that's when you saw Olivier start to really get in there a lot. And that's part of why I was like, I know it's just a fourth line, but just the look of Robinson with Corrali and Danforth,
Mhm.
it's been money. They outplay other teams' fourth lines. It's almost like a third line. Speaking like his pace, if you
Mhm.
were to play all 82 games and just play at the pace he's playing at right now, that's a 36-point season from a guy who consistently plays bottom 6 minutes.
Right, and that's plenty of support.
It is.
That's plenty of support that you can get from your bottom 6.
So not only would he be on pace for 36 points, he's on pace for 21 goals.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, granted, I
Huh.
don't think he's going to continue that pace, but it's very
No.
realistic you can get 15 goals from this guy if he stays healthy. 15 goals from one of your bottom 6 guys, and a guy who's more often than not playing, on the fourth line,
Mhm.
is a tremendous addition. And I want to say, because he signed, I think, a 2-year extension before last season, and then obviously got hurt. I would get on an extension now,
Give him another one. Yeah.
or if he continues to play well, that price seems to go up a little bit. Like, I know
I
some
would
teams are probably going to be interested in maybe trading for him at the deadline, but frankly, this is a player I don't want to give up.
This is a player that works for this organization.
Yeah.
And it would be a shame to lose that.
It would.
When you have guys that are like that epitomize the way your organization plays.
Yeah.
When you miss those pieces, you can really feel that.
Yeah. I think he fits the identity perfectly, because even though he's not a physical player, because he's a small guy.
Yeah.
But he's scrappy for his size. His scrappiness comes in different forms. It comes in just noticeable effort, defensively, counterattacking, making plays below the goal line, and pushing stuff on net. Like,
ever since Torts,
complete game.
Ever since Torts, what have we always needed? What epitomizes a Blue Jacket?
Gosh, I could think of a lot of things we've needed since Torts. What are you specifically looking for?
Bite. You need to have bite to your game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you
I
can
think
show all the flash in the world, but like, if you don't show at least a little tenacity and pushback, that's not like, yeah.
I would argue
doesn't
that's
work.
one of the concerns I have about Line A and Gaudreau long term as a duo.
Yeah.
I really like Gaudreau, and I have no problem with him not really having that element to his game. It's concerning when you get multiple of your top guys who kind of have that to them.
When you're
I think
very,
that's one of our biggest critiques of the Leafs. Right?
when you don't show enough of that pushback.
Forget about enough. They don't show any. It's not their game. It's not their game. It's for everybody. But when you get too many players like that, that's when you get pushed around.
Yeah.
Not to say that I think the Blue Jackets are necessarily getting pushed around consistently, but it could be a concern as this team develops and you start to get.
Patrick and Johnny don't need babysitters.
no. But because Boone Jenner is as good as he is, they'll have one.
it's
Because Dmitry Voronkov is as good as he is, they'll have one. Because Eric Goodbranson is unfortunately on a
on a 4x4
contract that has 3 years left, they'll have one.
Goody has been playing fairly well.
He's been playing
fairly well.
In comparison to last year, he's been playing better, yeah. But his last couple of games have been abysmal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we're going to go into the defense really quick, just in terms of like looking at how the core looks right now, why the hell, other than just sending David down for whatever cap reasons or something?
Yeah.
Why was Provorov, Jiricek, not one of your staples to begin with?
I think that was experimenting from Pascal, trying to see what works.
Mm-hmm.
And I think since Severson went down, he has come to the realization that he needs a staple defensive pair.
And we saw that right away.
Available pairing would be Provorov and Jiricek. So he'll have the chance to play around a little bit with other defensemen, and
saw that right away, knowing that is steady and that works.
Yeah.
Werenski and Boqvist is okay.
Yeah,
we've hemmed and hawed about Boki.
You live with it. Like, here's the thing. It's Werenski and Severson light.
Yeah.
Boqvist's mistakes. He makes mistakes like Severson does. He's a little bit more injury prone, a lot more injury prone, actually.
Yeah.
He's not as good defensively. And outside of just shooting the puck, I'd say he's not as good offensively either.
He needs to pick his spots better.
Yeah, he needs to pick his spots better. That's the thing that I struggle with, and I think is a tough thing moving forward for Pascal with Severson out, is you've committed to Provorov and Jiricek, and I have no problem with that. No problem with that. But because of that, it makes pairing a defenseman with Zach so much harder.
That, and knowing that, we saw Bean and Goodbranson way too much last year. So when we started seeing this come up again this year, we know this doesn't work.
It's been, as you said, better, but better's relative. It's still not nearly good enough. So, part of me, I also think we're doing Jake Bean a little bit of a disservice, because this is the last year of his deal. This is really determining his future in Columbus. And if I had to guess right now, I don't think he has one. But no. I think it would be unfair to determine that if we just go the rest of the way, playing him primarily with Eric Goodbranson. I don't think we're doing much for this kid. You know that Goodbranson's going to be here next year. He's under contract for the rest of this year, and then 2 more years after that. Unless you plan on buying him out, which maybe a new GM would do, but I haven't seen anything that gives me any indication that he has no job security here.
Well,
he's going to be back. So why not shake it up a little bit? And I know they tried it a little bit last year, but it didn't last long because Werenski got hurt. Try Werenski with Bean.
Sure. I just have no.
It's just a shakeup, isn't it? Isn't that all we want? A little bit of a shakeup?
It's a little bit of a shakeup. Plus, Peak's still here.
Try Bean with Peak. You have an offensive defenseman who, in that case, he doesn't have to pick his spots because Peak is just so defensively focused. And you can pair Goodbranson with Werenski because Goodbranson can log those minutes. And, I know Goodbranson's not the best, but I think Zach's capable enough to carry that.
You know that Peak can play anywhere you need him to play.
They can move the puck.
Andrew can play anywhere that he's needed. He's a plug
I
and
would
play
prefer
defenseman.
not to see him with Zach. I would prefer not to see him with Zach. I don't want to see him 20 plus minutes played. Now, granted, I don't want to see Goodbranson playing 20 plus minutes either. But you're limited, and I don't think that you gain much from putting Bean with Boakvist, because I think you're putting two offensively minded players together who have really next to no defensive game, and you're asking for a lot of trouble doing that, because unless they plan on possessing the puck 100% of the time that they're on the ice, you're going to give up some scoring chances.
Yes.
This is just the reality of the Blue Jackets defensive core. They have players who are NHL players. The fits aren't great, and with Damon Severson out, you see just how limited Pascal Vincent is in terms of his options. Because would we like to see David Jiricek with Zach Werenski? I'd like to see it. But then what is it? Provorov. That's a defensive pair that works. So keep that together.
Right. That doesn't help Provy. Really.
Yeah. And Provorov's a player, I think you, especially since this is his first year in Columbus, you want to help him. And you want him to get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just shit luck that Severson got hurt. The one guy that you could, outside of Gaudreau, that you could really rely on to never get hurt, as we discussed, out 6 weeks is unbelievable. It's just this team's luck.
You mentioned Yarmo there for a second, and that makes me, this isn't really that much of a talking point as it should have been 20 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Voronkov and Ovechnikov.
Yeah, so thankfully Voronkov's staying.
The rumor was swirling out there, knowing he was homesick and could return to Akbars, and that's a whole weird thing with a clause in his contract.
Yeah, but
I don't.
The one thing I really liked was hearing that his family told him to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, no, you're playing well there. Stay. Just you find a place. Hopefully his parents can come and visit sometime.
Right.
It's
like you're figuring it out over there. You're
a damn good player. You're cooking in the National Hockey League. Keep doing it, man. So I'm happy about that. But Yegor Chinikov is a very, very interesting case.
It's a weird case, isn't it? Because what
stood out to you that you read about him?
The whole thing was that he just wasn't. It wasn't a comfort thing, right?
It did not come off to me as a comfort thing at all. What it came off to me was a guy who doesn't feel that he's being utilized the way that he should. I don't think he likes I don't think that he's liked how they've managed him.
He wants more.
He's losing trust.
He wants more.
I think he's lost some faith in Yarmo.
I think he has too, because you got to remember, Yarmo went totally off the board to pick this kid at 20th.
Right.
And what's he done so far? He's, warmed up in Cleveland, and then when he comes up, he's pretty much only been on that third line.
And that's when he's in the lineup.
That's when he's there.
Not always in the lineup. I this is how I feel. Like, the one thing I didn't like about the pick, this has nothing to do with the player.
No.
There's a couple of different things I didn't like about the Chinikov pick when it was made. One was you could have grabbed him later.
Yeah.
And two is because you selected him when you did, it felt to me like they sped up the timeline.
Yeah, that was
kind of... He had a really good year in the KHL after they picked him, and they said, let's immediately bring you over to North America. And at the time, I was excited, admittedly, because I was like, oh, he's making a quick transition. That's cool. That must be a good thing. But it's not always a good thing. I think one of the things that we're going to look back on in terms of Yarmo whenever
Mhm.
he's inevitably done here, whether that's in the near future or perhaps later, is I think he has been too quick to pull the trigger on players. I think he did
Uh,
that with Liam Foodie. I think
yeah.
an argument with Cole Sillinger, even though he was really good his rookie year. I think just having him come over immediately did screw his progression a little bit as far as the sophomore season is. We'll see if he finds it more this season. He's been coming on lately, which is a very good thing.
Yes.
But and then this player I think is a prime example. Whereas, does he make the jump to North America if he was the 45th overall pick, like Kirill Marchenko?
Contrast that with Kirill and with Dimitri, because they
Dmitry was a
both
fourth round pick. Kirill Dolzhenkov was a fourth round pick. Was it last year, I think?
something like that.
Draft. Have
Um,
you heard anything about that guy?
he's cooking over in Russia,
We haven't heard much, though, is my point.
right?
Because he was a first round pick and he picked him so high, there's an added pressure to it that wasn't necessary.
It's
As opposed to if you had traded back in the draft and even just selected him 35th.
it's difficult because like Dimitri was 2019
Mm-hmm.
and Marchenko was what year?
2018.
18. So
Think about how long it took for Kirill Marchenko to come over
Yarmo took the time
with those guys.
to let these
And
two
look at how
guys
it's
develop,
paying off.
and at the and you're not gonna wait for Chinikov?
I feel like he'd have been not so much better off had they just waited a year.
Give him
And
one
right
more year
off
with
the bat,
Akbars and see how that goes. And yeah,
we're letting you come over and you're going to
or
play.
no, it wasn't Akbars. It was Avant-Garde, wasn't it?
I want to say yes.
I think he played in Avant-Garde.
Yeah.
He played with Omsk.
But here's the other thing with Marchenko. Not only did they wait to bring him to America, they waited like half the year before they brought him up to the NHL.
Right. He
Played
cooked in Cleveland and
seemingly forever in Cleveland.
yeah.
So talk about patience paying off. I can't help but feel like they did this kid a great disservice by not having any patience whatsoever. They put a lot on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's really feeling that. And I don't blame him.
I hope for his sake that Pazzi gives him more of a chance as the year goes on.
I hope so. And look, he played well the other night, so he'll get some chances coming up here. But again, Pazzi's going to do what he's going to do because he's got this whole bit committed to, putting in the work in terms of game and production. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going to have to produce. So there's pressure there. And I really feel like a lot of it's coming down. So there hasn't been any formal trade requests from what we've seen.
No.
But it sounds like it could get to that point if he feels like he's just not getting those chances. And what a whiff if that's the case. And I don't mean in terms of the player. I mean in terms of the management of the player.
Yeah. Because that's just not giving the best to your player.
It's not keeping your best interests in mind with the player. And it's unacceptable from a rebuilding team.
Right.
You didn't have to bring this guy over. You had every excuse in the book to let him take your time. You're rebuilding.
We already knew this year, as much as isn't that the whole scope of what this summer felt like though, with getting Ivan and getting Damon, trying to make that push for no, we want to end this now.
Yeah, they wanted to be better, but again, we didn't view it as a playoff push or anything like that. I think where I'm coming from is it's a different situation, in my opinion, than say a Matthew Nyes in Toronto, where you're looking at that kid and you're like, well, we want to bring him up and play him immediately because he's talented and he'll be cheap. And we're a playoff team and we're trying to win, and he'll add elements to our team. And
And
they
he
play
fits
well.
with guys we
You know,
have. And
I think they're still trying to look for some fits. They found some places he fits, some places he doesn't. It's kind of an up and down thing. And another guy they did that with was Nick Robertson.
yeah, poor Nick.
It's funny enough because he directly correlates with Liam Foodie.
Yeah.
So I feel like there has been a trend, specifically with the forwards,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of really pushing them perhaps sooner than he should. And sometimes it's worked. Sometimes it hasn't, but that's just kind of where we're at.
How often do you how early do you decorate for the holidays?
Funny enough, as you ask, we literally did that today, actually. Yeah. So we usually like to do it like right before Thanksgiving, like maybe like a week or so before.
Okay. It's funny because like our tradition is we like to get our tree
Mm-hmm.
the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's our Black Friday tradition,
Yeah.
is to get the tree early.
Mm-hmm.
So for some people it's probably still too early to start decorating.
It's never
But
too early to start shopping though.
never too early to start shopping. Beat the crowds, like especially on Black Friday when the clouds, oh my gosh, words are hard, especially around the holidays. Maybe someone could give me a little bit of
I'll get you a dictionary
some
for
speech
your
therapy.
Yeah.
For Christmas. Why not take care of it now before the crowds and packed calendars make shopping nightmarish, just the worst to deal with, especially when you can get it done before Black Friday, like with Raycon's pre-Black Friday, early Black Friday sale going on right now. You've heard us talk about Raycon in the past around the holidays before, or ringing in the new year, or just chilling over the summer. And you know how all of this is. Just go to the website for more information. Raycon first made a name for themselves in the audio space with the E25s and the amazing, cheap, but brilliant earbuds that they always are known for. 32-hour battery life with those puppies, high quality, thoughtful features, perfect ear fit, the custom gel tips, all everything that you all know and love. And this past year, they expanded.
Mm.
They
Tell me about it.
expanded the entire business model with Raycon Home and Raycon PowerTech. So they got some more stuff going on than just your regular everyday earbuds. The Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster. And the faucet filter, ultra filter in your water clears out heavy metal, chlorine, all that really nasty stuff in your tap. Must have for ensuring your water to use to wash your face, brush your teeth. You're actually getting clean water, right?
Yeah.
High quality, thoughtful features at half the price of other premium brands. No wonder everything has racked up thousands and thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews. You hear about these guys everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Raycon just works. To get everyone in on the holiday shopping spirit a bit early, Raycon's currently offering 20% off everything on their site with select products up to 50% off. So beat the crowds, save now. Trust me, you don't want to miss out because Raycon's got you covered. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/THPN to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score up to 50% off Raycon products. Buyraycon.com/THPN. Yeah, We're a quarter in, and things haven't gone. It's weird because like we expected to again not be a playoff team, but we didn't also
We're
expect to
hoping we
be
would be last.
in the hunt of the lottery.
Yeah, frankly, and even though like I know a lot of people would look at the start and be like, "All right, time to look at the draft lottery." I don't want them to be in a good spot in the draft lottery. To be honest with you, I'd be perfectly fine with them catching a little bit of fire and finishing with like the 9th overall pick. You got to see some progression at some point.
Yes, exactly.
The more you lose, the worse it is for your culture. I know draft picks are sexy, but I would argue that the prospect pool is already good enough as is.
Look at the other teams that are already doing horribly.
You're not a San Jose. You're not that bad.
No.
You're not a Chicago. We'll get into them in a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they need to pick up steam. We've got some time. Well before, like we've got months before the trade deadline.
It's still November. It's not even December yet.
Yeah.
So just pick it up a little bit.
Start picking it up.
3 out of 4 is good. It's a start. If you can take 2 or 3 of your next 5, that's positive. 3 or 4 of your next 7, just show us some progression in some areas.
Yeah. And that starts with Montreal. They'll have Ottawa next, so we get to say hi to Corpy and Anton in a few days.
These are 2 winnable games here. 2 winnable games. Take one of them.
Yeah, and then we go to Boston. So, oh boy, we'll see how that goes in the Garden.
Yeah, they might lose, but they already beat them. So
at home against the Kings, on Long Island, and then at home against St. Louis, and that's how we start December.
That's not a brutal schedule. Outside of Boston and LA, there's some really winnable games in there.
There's 2 teams that are kind of in your caliber.
Yeah, in Ottawa and
Montreal. And
even
then
I would include St. Louis in that. I know their record's not terrible, but I think they're punching way above their weight right now.
Yeah, I don't.
But the Kings are unbelievable.
The Kings are amazing. And the Islanders are very not.
The Islanders are, they're a very mid team. So, there's some games here. So that's our next what? That's our next 6. You said
next, something like that. I didn't say a number, but that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, next 6.
So, if you can take 5 or 6 points out of that, that's positive.
Yeah. That shows improvement.
Yeah.
Especially after losing 9 in a row.
Get some points on the board. Get some points in the standings.
And give it to some old friends while you're at it. How crazy would it be to just shell Korpisalo if he plays against us? Or even Anton. Like both of those guys, we know those guys.
Will be insufferable if we shell Korpisalo. Especially if Elvis is starting in that game.
Oh, dude.
If Elvis goes out and even just has a decent game and we shell Korpisalo, some people will not be happy with me on Twitter.
If it's Elvis and Korpisalo,
But if the reverse happens and Elvis gets shelled and Corpy looks great, you will not hear from me.
Well, it's funny because I have friends on Discord, Pie, Milk, Ice Queen, Raffy, guys like that in the sense. They're all, that whole Sens fan base in that Discord is so talkative. They're so active. So like Pi even tags me in Corpy stuff all the time.
So what's funny? We talked about Elvis and his 2021-2022 season where he was the 907. And he had a 322 goals against average. Right now, Elvis has a 907 save percentage and a 311.
Wow.
So he's putting up similar numbers to what he was 2 years ago. And then when you look at Corpy is a 902 with a 3. Anton Forsberg's an 850.
Oh, poor
Oh
Anton.
God! Wow.
Poor guy.
Oh, that
I mean,
is
Sweden didn't help that. Plus, Ottawa just hasn't been playing games. Have you noticed that?
yeah.
Have you
Well, when they
noticed that
have
they've
been
been like
playing games, they've been getting into line brawls.
they're way behind in terms of games played behind a lot of other teams at this point. I don't know
Mhm.
why.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But we're gonna pivot to the rest of the league, and we're gonna stay in their division for 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Mainly 2.75 seconds. Uh,
5 seconds. I like it. Yeah, and we're gonna go to one of their old bucks in Alex DeBrinket. I'm sure he's happy today.
yeah. The cat gets a friend back.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't
I
think for a number of reasons. First, he's coming off, was it hip
hip
flexion
resurfacing.
surfacing? Good lord, like
Hip resurfacing. Okay, so just headline: Patrick
he
Kane
like
coming
no athlete
back.
can come back from that like positive. I think what is it? Backstrom had like 22 points in 47 games, and then he got hurt again,
Patrick
and they might
Kane
not play.
signing with the Detroit Red Wings for the rest of this year, and that's it.
Yeah,
At $2.75 million.
yeah.
So what what I don't like with this signing is, one, say what you will about Patrick Kane off the ice. Literally,
Yeah,
just
I
laundry
didn't
list
even
that.
bring it up because I think it's kind of well documented at this
Yeah,
point.
just laundry list that, because yeah, throw that out there.
To say the name, I think everybody gets the feeling, you know.
The second thing is the hip resurfacing.
That just sounds painful, doesn't it?
That's something you don't come back from, like,
I just hear
really
him
at all.
and I'm like, he's cooked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Hip injuries. Good lord, what a terrible like injury to have. You know,
Nick Backstrom went through the exact same thing, like you said.
Was it 22 points in 47 games, and now he might not play again.
Exactly. So
And there's a list of other athletes who've tried to come back, and a lot of them didn't do anything, and then that was it for them. They
Patrick
could
Kane is also, 34.
he's not getting any younger. He hasn't played a lick of defense since his rookie year. Jay Fresh posted like the career timeline, and it was very funny to see like Patrick Kane's defense was actually pretty good his rookie year. I want to say he was like in the 55th percentile, and then the rest of his career, it was almost a damn straight line at the bottom. He's
Ugh.
just played defense since.
It's hard because, like, you would think with the way Patrick Kane has moved for the last couple of years since leaving Chicago, he goes to New York,
Yeah.
and you would have thought that reuniting with another buddy of his in Artemi Panarin
Yeah.
would have worked.
And
No.
not only did he not work with the Rangers, did he not look good with the Rangers? Panarin also looked. I don't even think he looked in the playoffs. He was invisible.
Yeah. Contrast that with, I mean, Alex has cooled down since starting off like a comet.
Yeah, I mean, regression was always due because he was scoring at such an absurd rate.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know how. I don't know. It doesn't fit. Because what? Larkin's out right now, right?
How long is he out? Do you know?
I don't know. I believe because Cat's been playing with JT Compher.
I can just text my friend and she'll get back to me within like 2 minutes.
That's fair. Cat's been playing with Compher. So, like, do you put Kane there?
The answer is you put him with DeBrincat, and it doesn't matter who's in the middle.
Doesn't matter who's in the middle. Really, all that's left is for Sprong to switch numbers.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Sprong currently wears 88.
I hope he just says, "Nah, man, I'm good." And
You can wear
forces Kane to wear a totally different number.
you can wear 87. It's cool.
You said day to day, no timeline. See,
Day
I
to
told
day, no
you
timeline.
you should get back to me within like 2 seconds.
Fair.
Shout out Del. Shout out Del.
I think they're also. I think Wallman is coming back in the lineup in terms of their defense, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't see any fit here because I'm looking at it and going like JT Confer, Andrew Kopp. We know Andrew Kopp has been.
This is the thing that I talked about because apparently, like the Red Wings actually have a decent amount of cap space to work with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say it's low risk. I don't want to say that it's not low risk, but I don't like people talking about it like it's no risk.
Right.
2.75 is not nothing. It will take away from some of your ability to make something happen at the trade deadline. You don't know when Patrick Kane is truly going to be 100% ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also an experiment that's not going to have enough legs, in my opinion, to move off of by the deadline.
You're fighting for your life right now to stay in this hunt because looking
It's
at
such a ridiculous hunt.
looking at the Atlantic right now,
Yeah.
Boston, 21 games played. They're 14-4-3 for 31 points.
Yeah.
Florida also 21, 13-7-1 for 27 points. Detroit is third. They've played 20. They are 11-6-3. They're 2 points behind.
Yeah, they're tied with the Lightning in points, but they played 2 games in them. The Leafs are 2 points behind them, but they have a game at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Buffalo! I'm surprised. 22 points to 22 games. They're like actually still like at least kind of
competent.
there.
They just sent Buffalo just sent Levi down to Rochester.
That hours before it was announced. Look at me.
Yeah.
I have sources.
I have sources.
I literally got a text from my buddy. He was like, "They're gonna send him down," and I was like, "Oh, dope."
It was just like, cool. All right, shoot.
But I keep my cards close to my chest, but also I don't want to get my friend in trouble.
But this is the thing, right? You look at the Lightning, the Leafs, and the Panthers, and they're all like just they're circling you like
you know the Lightning are getting Vasilevsky back at some point, and you know at some point the Leafs are gonna somewhat figure their shit out, and
yeah,
whether that's firing the coach or making a trade or something like that, they're not gonna do nothing. They're not just gonna stick in this kind of stuck in mud path that they're in right now. So I understand from the Red Wings perspective that hey, let's try and make a move. And at the end of the day, you're making a move without giving up assets, and I understand that. We're trying to make a move, so we're going to get a free agent. We're not giving up any assets here. Maybe just the signing in general brings up the vibes because you can get your players behind. Oh man, we're getting Patty Kane and whatnot. But I just
Patty Kane's not Patty Kane anymore. He's the showtime is gone.
Not even Evander Kane.
The showtime is over, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to expect out of that. We'll see what happens. Now, the other guy who's kind of tied to this in a weird way, because this goes back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start with this?
There's a lot of different places I want to go, and I actually kind of want to keep this brief because I don't want it to be a shit show of speculation between the two of us.
No. And let's just squash this right now. So, do we start with the rumor that everybody was talking about? Do we start there?
Yeah, here's how I'll bring this up. Like, I can't imagine having to work for the PR department of the Blackhawks. And it's like after everything they've had to go through for the last couple of years, and then you walk into work and you're like, things are starting to settle down. And it's like, hey, can you put out a statement that Corey Perry didn't fuck Connor Bedard's mom?
So, yeah, the Corey Perry. It was announced today from insiders that the Blackhawks, put him on waivers to terminate his contract.
Yeah, that rumor never made sense to me. Although everybody enjoyed the fun of making jokes
Joking
about
about it, yeah. Like we
it. Like,
saw,
it never
we
made
saw.
sense.
Hey, we
And the
saw
reason,
our stars girls going off. Jordan and Taylor had
yeah,
themselves a
they had
day.
some. Jordan had a really, really, really funny tweet about it that made me
I
laugh.
love Taylor's too, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and I'm sure they're relieved that they have beaten the Patrick Kane allegations.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting because that rumor gets floated out, and I didn't really believe it from the get
The
go.
rumor is somewhere during the mom's trip.
Yeah, it was supposed to be sometime during the mom's trip. Some things went down and
And
whatnot, and
crazily enough, we'll
that's
get to Kyle in a second. Um,
funny enough. I think the Blackhawks posted something on their TikTok after that press conference about the mom's trip, and I
oh,
just love the fact that they were like, you know what, we need to wait until after this press conference to post this content and make sure we clear the air.
mm. um,
I
Ki-
like, we don't know what the hell this is. All I know is it didn't make sense that it was the Connor Bedard rumor, simply because I don't think that that's something you could actually terminate a contract over. It might be
so
something you put a guy on waivers for, but contract termination is very different.
this is such a strange case because I watched the Kyle Davidson press conference, right?
And you said that like he was like,
It was really short.
"Why?"
He was he comes out and like the biggest thing that came out of this presser was that he squashed the rumor about Bedard immediately.
Yeah, which is just
This
so ridiculous that he even has to do it.
this incident didn't involve players. It didn't involve anybody within players' families.
Yeah. That is the best way to go about it. To like squash it without having to be like, yeah, he didn't bedoink.
He didn't have fun. He didn't have that kind of fun on a mom's trip.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh. I'm trying to find the TLDR
Which
to
like
this
it
really.
sounds like it's an extremely serious issue, and that's why
He
they terminated this contract. They didn't want to you know, give away too much information. I'm not sure what the hell to make of it, but it's honestly like I don't think it's necessarily funny, but I think it is kind of funny that he had to start off a very serious press conference with squashing that stupid rumor.
Kyle Davidson looked visibly shaken up
Yeah.
by how serious this actually is.
Yeah.
The timeline is that it happened while they were here in Columbus.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Why does all the bad shit happen when people are here?
You know what's interesting? And I'm going to keep this compared to another Chicago team. Earlier this season, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
Bears defensive coordinator,
Yeah, and how he just disappeared.
he resigned, and apparently the FBI was involved, and
Now that's
just
another
never
thing.
heard anything after that. We haven't heard a thing after that. So
That's
I'm wondering what the timeline's going to be like here for Corey Perry in terms of what information we hear.
So here's another big part of what Kyle had said. This isn't a criminal thing. It's workplace. It's like a workplace thing, but it's not criminal.
So again, we're going to speculate, but like I think it's fair to ask, what the fuck is it? Like,
how can it be this bad?
but it's not criminally related, and it's bad enough he can't be
Okay, I finally found the bullet points. Thank you. I'm going to shout out my buddy Mav, Mr. OSHA violation from Discord again.
Yes.
Because he actually has this. What we know, not a player.
Yeah.
Wrong, but not illegal.
Wrong, but not illegal. Okay.
Violates the standard player contract.
I don't know what it could be. Like, and I know we're not going to guess here, but like, I'm just like, you feel like you're running out of options. It feels like you're playing a game of Clue.
The
And you're
players
just like,
didn't
well,
know
if it wasn't
either.
in this room, and it wasn't this weapon, it wasn't this person, and you're just like, what the fuck would it be?
So like morally wrong. So it could be like around the terms of like hazing kind of stuff.
God.
And here's the problem, right? Both the league and the PA were notified of this, right?
Yeah.
And the PA was just like, yeah, go ahead, terminate it. Yeah.
That's the freakiest thing about this. Is like that was my first question, was like, they talked about contract termination, and the fact that there was no pushback, I was like, what is it? Like, because I don't think you can terminate a contract over, what was originally alleged on Twitter, which we now know is false.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like, we have no clue what it is, but it's not illegal, but it's bad enough you could terminate a contract, and the NHL with PA was like, we're fine, you can go right ahead. Like, God, I don't. What?
It's a workplace issue. So could have happened to like a staff member around the arena or within the like I said, when I was watching Davidson speak, he had the look on his face, looked like it happened to him personally. He was that shaken up about it.
Like, but like, how would the police not be involved unless like an NDA was signed?
Probably on both sides there could
And
have been an
that
NDA.
could be why they're able to keep it as ambiguous as it is, by being like, no police presence if they sign an NDA. But like, oh my God, like I just, like I said, we're not going to speculate, but it's like, and part of the reason we can't speculate is because I can't. I have no ideas in my brain of what,
because like they gave us so much information all at once that it's just like, okay, so
rule that out. Rule that out. Well, if this rules this out, this rules this out. If this is ruled out, that rules that out. And then you're just like,
I feel like we're Charlie.
I have a board that's scribbled.
I feel like we're Charlie and Always Sunny, just like
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just like both scenes too, where it's like him with the cork board, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out some conspiracy. And at the same time, I'm looking at it from the point of view of like when they're in the truck and Charlie's like, "Wild car, bitches," and then flies out the truck.
Yeah.
I don't freaking know.
It feels like it feels like we're looking at something and we don't even know what the hell we're looking at. So
I don't think we'll ever.
I think that's how we have to lead this off. Is just by just kind of raising our hands in the air and just saying,
like, it does make for the current organization coming off of the Kyle Beach thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They started out looking okay this year in terms of that kind of stuff.
I said this earlier to some of my friends. I think it's very easy for people to pile on the Chicago Blackhawks organization simply because what happened under the previous regime, specifically in 2010 with the whole Kyle Beach situation with Brad Aldrich, is so unforgivable that people just aren't going to forgive it. And that's fine. That's fine. I have no problem with people feeling that way. But what I will say, and this isn't necessary to defend the Blackhawks organization, perhaps just people in the organization. Think about like the lower level people that you don't know the names of who are working in, think about sports management in some of these smaller departments, and then PR. I think there's a very big difference between bad PR management and bad PR. This is bad PR. It's not bad PR management. Does that make sense? They handled it in a timely manner.
Yes, they did everything.
The player, they were terminating the contract, and
they did their investigation.
I don't know the legality behind this because they went out of their way to say that it's not necessarily a legal issue. But whatever it is, I'm certain it's in their best interest to keep it as ambiguous as possible. Which is more often than not is the smartest thing to do in PR. So I don't feel like today the Blackhawks lost any sort of credibility or anything like that. I think it's just a chance for, frankly, a lot of people to dunk on an organization that they have a lot of hatred for because of
Yeah.
the incident, which is
He
fair.
was brought in
Yeah,
as a mentor for Connor Bedard.
yeah.
Like, that makes it bad on its own.
Well, the good news is Nick Foligno's still there.
Nicky is still there. Yes, he's got Uncle Nick. I do wonder if Perry, because other teams would want a player like Corey Perry.
It depending on what happens. Yeah, yeah. If you
But
can
how
get
much of how much does this, put on Corey Perry the person to have teams shy their way?
it was a random person on Twitter, so I can't quote you. I'm sorry. I have no idea who you are, but I saw it earlier and it was a great point.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about this incident that the Blackhawks are able to terminate his contract, but the Bruins didn't with Milan Lucic?
Yeah. Like,
That's what I'm
that's gotta be some really, really awful thing that he did. How much of an
Yeah.
asshole do you have to be to have this happen to you with what Chicago's been going through?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Did you see the quote Jay Fresh tweeted? It was from like 10 or 12 days ago from
No.
Kyle
Maybe.
Richardson or Luke
Maybe.
Richardson. And
Oh, yes, this.
he said he was on pace for like 50 points and he was
52
like,
point pace. Yeah.
Corey Perry's on a 52-point pace. He's like, man, they're gonna have to kick him out of this league because he's just not gonna go. It's just like,
Oh,
oh, they might be kicking him out of the league.
they might be kicking him out of the league, guys.
We'll see.
Speaking of weird decisions, wild decisions, if you will. Minnie fired Dean Evason, and that's not the wild
Fine.
part.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I think they were well within their rights to do so.
Yeah, look at where they are this year, and that's all well and good because he did good things for them. It was
Yeah,
his
he
time.
ran his course. He's a good coach, and he ran his course, and that happens.
Yeah.
The problem.
I got
Bald.
That's the
What
best.
the hell, man? What the hell? How does this dude?
John Hynes is now the Wild head coach, which can only go so well when you have guys like Marco Rossi and Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy. When you have these skilled players.
So I was thinking about this because someone brought it up in one of my group chats, a Devils fan, and he was like, "Man, he's gonna have Kirill Kaprizov looking like Devils Pavel Zacha."
Oh boy.
And it made me wonder. I was like, I'm looking at Pavel Zacha and how he's playing for the Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, like, is it possible that Pavel Zacha has actually been a pretty good, decent player?
Pavel's been fine.
Just held back by John Hynes and then Lindy Ruff before Andrew Burnett out there.
I mean, you look at what John did in Nashville.
Yeah.
Look at how soulless those players looked out there when he was coaching Nashville.
Nashville was a weird situation because it was a team that probably should have rebuilt that just kind of didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say he did a bad job. I actually thought he did a pretty decent job with them last year. And I thought he was kind of wronged with how they fired him because they were just like, well, let's see if Andrew Burnett wants to come. And when they found him, they were just like, oh, perfect. We'll hire him and then fire him. But just like my issue is I actually don't think that John Hynes is the worst coach with perhaps a younger team.
Mm-hmm.
The Wild are a team that have playoff aspirations and deep run expectations.
Yes.
And you're hiring a coach with a 4-15 playoff record.
Oh. Plus, like you just said, he would do well with like a younger roster.
I
Right.
think his best work would probably come with a team that doesn't have a ton of expectations attached with them. You know, like if he were good to go to San Jose,
Right.
I
I'm
certainly
surprised.
think he could pull out better results than David Quinn's pulling out right now. Although I'm sure San Jose's thrilled with how
Oh,
bad.
San Jose's getting what they want.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't see it with, after what Guerin did, because he still has to work with this the buyouts for another year or two, right?
Yeah.
He still has to work with those. He signs Zuccarello, which that's fine on its own.
Yeah.
But then you add Marcus and Hartman,
Hmm.
and didn't they add one more to that too?
What do you mean in terms of?
Didn't they have 4 contracts that were kind of like wishy-washy um, with older players? They're just kind of like, wait a minute. Or was it only the 3?
I think it's only the 3.
Was it only the 3? Okay. Because you put all the stock in extending those guys, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. I
uh,
like I like elements to this team.
mhm.
Not particularly a huge fan of how they are in net, even though I do. We all love Marc-Andre Fleury, but
Love Flower, and happy birthday to Flower when we're
happy
recording this as
birthday to
well.
him. Shout out to the mask he wore the other night. That was
The
fucking
native mask was so good, and the whole thing, we can go
and a
over
giant
that in
middle
another
finger.
day.
So what a good guy. Um, it's I just like I don't think they're complete enough to compete for a Stanley Cup.
No, but they also
But
shouldn't be
sure
as
as
bad as they
hell,
are right now.
yeah, I sure as hell don't think this is the direction they should go as far as a head coach is concerned. Because if you're trying to go for that, which obviously Bill Guerin is, and I think that's kind of how the Wild operate,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not a great team, their goal is very much let's just get into the playoffs because you never know. You could go on a run, which I don't think is the worst strategy, but you do know the results you get with John Hynes coach teams. He's 4-15 in the playoffs.
You're not going to go anywhere. If you make it, you're not going to go anywhere. And that's
So
if you make it.
what's the point? You know?
Is Billy just pulling the chute? Like,
I don't know. I really don't. It's very interesting to me because like surely there's better options out there, right?
there have to be better options out there.
Yeah.
There have to be. I just don't know what, like, I mean, you could always bring Boudreaux back.
That would be a lot of fun. I was
It
thinking
would
that.
be a lot of fun.
Like realistically, I mean Gerard Gallant's free.
Gerard Gallant's there. Um,
He'd be good for, if you bring him in, he's good for the rest of this year and next year as far as playoff, runs are concerned.
runs
He
well with
starts,
veteran teams, yeah.
but coaching's a very short leash in the National Hockey League. If you get 2 good years out of a coach, I think that's pretty good nowadays.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alain Vigneault, I think, is free.
I think Vigneault is out there, yeah.
So, like they had options. Not saying those options are great, but
A little bit better than John Hynes.
yeah. And it's not necessarily just to shit on Hynes. I just think that Hynes, at the very least, what's surprising to me about him is how quickly he's been able to find work after he's gotten fired.
Mm-hmm.
He got fired by the Devils during the 18-19 season, and within the same season, just like a month or 2 after, he was the head coach of the Predators.
Yeah,
And then
I remember us
he
talking about that, right?
yeah, so he gets fired at the end of the season, basically in the off season, out of nowhere because it wasn't expected.
Yeah.
And before the calendar year is over, he doesn't have another job. He's coaching again at head coaching. It's not like he's never taken that 1-year assistant coach in Tampa step in between. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, he's
Which
never
so-
been like on the side bench. He's never pulled like a Todd Reardon, which
Yeah.
Todd
Yeah.
Reardon running the Capitals power play.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you have, your old, like, Toronto's power play coach is now your head coach, and your assistant coach running the power play
Yeah.
is Todd Reardon, who didn't do so well even in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I don't like. It's just
pretty good at that there, though. It's been impressive.
I guess good luck to John Hynes. There's no ill will towards the guy.
I'm not wishing poorly on the guy. I don't know anything about him. He seems like he's probably a nice guy.
Yeah.
I just, we're just here to analyze the move, and I just think it's frankly a very strange one.
It's very mid, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Mid, isn't
yeah. So I did want to just run through this very, very fast, going through the goal differential through the quarter mark, because some of this is really funny to me.
Sure.
Because you have teams that are really, really good with a really bad goal differential.
Yeah.
And then you have teams that are really, really bad with a weirdly awesome positive differential.
Okay, interesting.
So just ones that stood out to me, right? New York, the Rangers, they've been on fire. They have a plus 17.
Really? That's surprisingly low for how good they've been.
Yeah, and yet it's still a plus 17. The Canes are even in goal differential.
That's because they gave up like 8 goals on 14 shots to the Lightning the other night.
Yeah.
It was nuts because like I looked at the JFresh graphic, he did like the goal saved above expected, and the Hurricanes were like 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the goals were because of that game.
Tale of two franchises. The Islanders are just above 500. They're a minus 10 for a team that we look for in terms of defensive prowess.
It's not a very good team. They're not.
No. And conversely, the Penguins, who are right below them, mind you,
They probably win a lot of games by several goals, so I'm assuming theirs is pretty positive.
they're exactly 10-10.
Yeah.
They're a plus 11.
Yeah. I figured as much. I'm sure they lose games by a goal, and then they come back the next night and win by 2 or 3.
The Devils, on the other hand, they're a minus 3.
Yeah.
Like,
Devils suck this season. Vanacek and Schneid are not giving them enough.
no. Boston's a plus 16.
Again, it's surprising. I would have expected it to maybe been a little bit better.
Detroit's a plus 14.
Detroit's been fun to watch.
Detroit's been very fun
so far.
I do love looking at Montreal and Ottawa back to back, because you look at both of them. Montreal's doing slightly better with 20 points, while Ottawa has 16, right?
Ugh.
Montreal is a minus 16, and the Senators are a plus 1.
What?
Right?
That's nuts.
It's crazy. Speaking of crazy,
give me the Sharks right now.
do you want the Sharks, or do you want me to talk about how awesome Colorado is?
Yeah, we'll get to Colorado in a second. This is the stat I've been waiting for. We want to hear
yes. So going to the top really quick of this division, Vegas and LA, and Vancouver for that matter, because Vancouver is monstrous.
Yeah.
Vegas has a plus 18. The Kings have a plus 29, and the Canucks have a plus 32.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Amazing. Like, Thatcher has been
okay.
Lights
Since
out.
we're on the note of being positive, give me Colorado's then.
You want Colorado's? They're a plus 21. They have as many in the positive differential as they've played games.
Jesus, 32 for the Canucks.
I know.
Give me the Sharks.
I mean, a lot of that is Quinn.
Give me it. Give me the Sharks.
You want the Sharks? This is the worst I've ever seen any goal differential.
Yeah,
And this includes like seeing negative hundreds by the end of a season, right? They've played 22 games.
Yeah.
A record of 5, 15, and 2.
I'm so ready for this.
They have 12 points.
Yep.
Conversely, like just to compare them to Edmonton really quick, Edmonton has 3 more points. A 375 points percentage to a 273.
Give me the Oilers goal differential first. I want to compare it.
For reference, the Oilers are a -8.
Oh God.
It's that elf reference, right? A -8. That does not happen.
Oh no! What is the Sharks?
The Sharks. Here, Anaheim's is a -15. They're above the Oilers.
You're giving me more examples just to show how absurd this number is going to be.
Yeah. So -8 for the Oilers, -15 for the Ducks. The Kraken are a -16. The Flames are a -11.
Oh God.
The Sharks, as my ice machine goes off, -5-4. 54.
Ow! How is it? What?
Mackenzie Blackwood would stand on his head still. And they're a -54.
Oh my Lord.
How bad has Capo Kakinen had to be for that to be their goal differential?
Well, I've said before, I don't think he's that good.
Still, how bad is he really? Is he
The Sharks
what?
are bad. The Sharks are bad, dude.
Oh God.
Bad.
Chicago's a -21. Minnesota's a -20. Ew. Good luck, John.
That'll improve under John Hynes.
We are a -12.
Okay, I can live with that.
We're a -12.
You know what? I think that kind of goes to show like what Pascal was kind of like beating his chest over for the longest time. We're close. I swear to God, we're close.
We're close.
And then we look at the last 3 of these 4 games, and we're like, okay, like we were annoyed at the time, but he was kind of right because they're starting to put shit together. So -12's not that bad.
No, that's picking it
Good.
up.
It's not catastrophic.
It's not good. It's not ruined.
Yeah, but yeah.
Honey, it was ruined when she bought it. That's the Sharks in a nutshell.
Yeah, for real. Good Lord.
Woo!
Oh.
-54 is going back to like, what was it, their 3rd season? When they only had like 11 wins.
They were really bad.
They were just god awful.
As I fucking yawn.
Oh, they were bad, and neither of us were alive.
They were so bad they bored me to tears.
It's just silly. It's so silly looking at some of these goal differentials, and you're just like, what? How?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Pourquoi? Wow.
That.
Owen
Yeah.
Wilson. Wow.
Wow. That wasn't even coming up on your mic.
That's a good note to end on.
Wow. Hopefully over these next few games we get some fun. We send this from Columbus, from Russia with love.
Mm-hmm. And we love her.
It's, gosh, how much fun. It's disgusting the amount of fun we're having anymore.
Yeah.
But we deserve this. After losing 9 straight, I think we deserve this.
We deserve a little treat now and then. Just a little treat.
Just a little treat. Fitting, because Christmas is on its way.
Indeed.
'Tis the season. Let's have some fun. We'll see y'all when we see y'all next
Love y'all.
for Hockey 101.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Garinger, GARRINGER, and at by J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.